Hello folks, welcome back to another product review. So I recently bought the Roadlok XRA for my R1300 here, and I wanted to do a little bit of a review on it. Now, I know when I did the Roadlok X1 video, it was very difficult to review a lock because, let's be honest, a lock is just a lock. However, I did have a little bit of help this time, so to speak. So if that's of any interest, stay tuned and I will try to do as decent a review of this lock as I can. So I bought this lock probably a couple of months ago now, I think like mid-July. Didn't do a review then for two reasons mainly. A, I wanted to actually use it and put it through its, paces first. And very soon after, I was going away to the Dolomites with my other half. So I thought, well, that's a good time to sort of test it and make sure if there's going to be any quirks that I can find that I obviously do. So let's get it unboxed and see what you get in the actual kit. So I'm just referring to my laptop. There are obviously different, variants depending on which bike that you have. So I've got the XRA specific for the BMW, which I have on there now, and I paid, I think it was about 210 UK pounds. I think it's maybe 250 euros, I think, if roughly. So yeah, let's get it unboxed and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so forgive me, I'm filming these bits a bit out of sequence. So I've already fitted the Roadlok itself to the bike because it only arrived a couple of days before me and my other half went away for 2 weeks on the bike, and I wanted to obviously get it on there so I could test it out. Anyway, so what you get in the box. It's fairly straightforward. You obviously get the Roadlok itself. You get a couple of bolts to replace the original caliper bolts. So obviously they're not in this shot because it's on the bike. And then you get all of this. Now I don't know whether you get the graphite lube, so I'll put that to one side for a moment. But in the kit, aside from the actual unit itself and the mounting bolts, you get the various spacers. So I have the two larger ones on the bike, which are about that big because they're the appropriate ones for my bike. You get two of the blanking, I suppose you would call them blanking plugs for when the lock is not in use. Dropping those. You get 4 of these rubber covers for the actual lock itself to stop dirt going in there. Now I say 4, I've already lost one, but I will get to that later in the video. You get these, which obviously you can put on to remind yourself that you've actually locked it. You get the actual locking pin itself, and then you get this to wrap over the handlebars so you don't forget and try and ride off. So that's everything that you get in the kit. In terms of fitting it to the bike, I'll obviously show it on the bike in a moment, but I didn't think it would be that exciting showing you me fitting it, considering it is literally a case of removing these, finding the correct spacer, and obviously bolting it on. It took me 5 minutes. The other reason I'm not going to delve too much into to that side of things is obviously in the instructions that you do get with it as well. You have to be very sure that when you replace when you replace the original caliper bolt with the one that's included in the kit, which is obviously longer, that you use the correct spacer or spacers, and there is a measurement that you have to take to ensure that you get enough of these threads going into the bottom of the fork. Because brakes are safety related, I am going to skip the instructions because I don't want to say something that people might misunderstand me and not read the instructions and then go off and do something and either strip a bolt, damage the fork leg, or worse still, have some sort of accident. So all I'm going to say is, when it comes to installing this, read the instructions, if you have any queries, speak to Roadlok themselves, not me, because like I say, it's safety related and I don't want to get involved in that just in case. So there we have it, everything that you get in the kit. So why did I buy it? So I already have the Roadlok X1 that they sent me the back end of last year, and I've since, with my own money, bought the Roadlok Core Moto. So why would I need a third lock? Two reasons mainly. I have had a bit of a tendency to go out and forget my lock, especially if I've been in a bit of a rush. And that's obviously that's my fault, that's my own stupidity, but I like the idea of having a lock that's always with you. So when I was up in Scotland in May, one of my friends had just bought I think it's maybe a 21 plate, but he bought a BMW S1000R, and it came with the Roadlok, and that was, I think, the first time I'd actually seen one in the flesh. And I really liked the idea of it. My other friend that I was with, he then bought one for his Z1000 SX because he was off in August for his honeymoon all around Europe. And I think, so, having it with me all the time. So, I mean, obviously you could forget the locking pin, but I keep that in the tank bag or in the top box. So theoretically, I've always got a lock with me. The other reason is, obviously I ride a BMW. I believe the GS is at the moment the most stolen bike in Europe. I might have that stat slightly wrong, but I've been hearing quite a lot of reports of them being stolen, especially in France. I know Grenoble, I think, and Reims are pretty big hotspots, for it. And considering I do go to Europe at least once a year on it, I don't know. I just thought, better to be safe than sorry. I know people will say that's a lot of money on security, etc., but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I would rather make it as difficult as I can for a thief to steal my bike, and then have it nicked and maybe get it back in a state that I don't know and it's been thrashed anyway. So when it came to actually reviewing this, one thing I did consider is that it's not sold secure rated. So how strong is it? Which led me to the Bennetts BikeSocial website and an article that John Milbank did, who, when I did the Roadlok X1 video, I did link to his X1 review video, because I don't really want to be smashing these up. I only have one. I want to keep it, I want to use it. So I was kind of a little bit lazy in that I just said, if you want to see it destructively tested, then go and watch John's video. So I went to try and find a video for the Roadlok that he'd done, and at first I couldn't find one. I did find his article, which I will obviously stick a link in the description for. Eventually I found that he had obviously mentioned the Roadlok on a larger video that he'd done about the different types of bike security. So I'll also link that. But I emailed John, and he very kindly offered to sit down with me and have a chat about it. I will say this next part that you're about to watch, I filmed probably a month ago now. I just haven't had time to edit it. And me and John, we were chatting for about an hour and 15 minutes. And I found it incredibly difficult to try and slice that down to something a bit more manageable. It was great to sit down and talk with him about bike security, bikes in general. But an hour and 15 minutes was just a little bit unmanageable. I've managed to snip it down to 21 minutes, which I get is still long. If you want to skip ahead to my final thoughts, etc., that's fine. There's no affiliate links or any kind of discount codes in this video. But I would say the chat I had with him, very informative. He's got a lot of insight. He's been using one for years. So I would very much like it if you would watch it. Like I say, it's that segment's 21 minutes long. But I do think it's worth it to understand from somebody who has used it for several years and actually tried to beat the hell out of it, what they think of it, etc., etc. I've been riding with it for about 3,000 miles now. I have no issues and complaints with it, but enough of me waffling on. Here's my chat with John Milbank from Bennetts BikeSocial.
I was going to introduce you prior to cutting over to this segment, but I don't know if you want to. I mean, I imagine most people watching this video know who you are anyway.
Necessarily, it's pretty niche, kind of geeky look into stuff in it that I do. So I mean, I tend to do. I've kind of found my role here really as consumer editor at BikeSocial because I just I'm just really geeky, and because we don't have any advertising. We have a little bit of advertising on our website, but we don't need it. Most of the time, we have advertising. It's where we've done something for BikeSocial membership, where we've gone, okay, we've got a competition. We'll have a competition prize. You can have advertising, but it's still kept completely separate from editorial, which is great. I'll sometimes go, oh, this is great. Hand them over to Andy and go, it might be worth seeing if they want to do a deal, but still. Nothing. We've got stuff up. We've had stuff on there where I've just slated it in a review, but but the offer's there if you want it. We got talking, didn't we? Because you asked me about some gloves.
Yes, I did.
And I was genuinely, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, I was genuinely impressed. You wanted to know how we could check if they were legitimately certified as safe. And then you went, I'm not doing them. But I'm in a massively privileged position in that I'm paid a salary to do this job. And it doesn't matter what I say. And I have pissed off several brands and they won't do anything with us.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been invited to do stuff with membership and things, and they're like, they come out clear, going, "We will not work with you."
Which is why I do like spending my own money. I mean, I got sent the Roadlok X1, and I did review that, and I did put a link to your video where you, from memory, you think you used at least 3 angle grinder discs or even more until you got through it.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first ones I'd done, and there was this real run because, of course, hip lock were the first with the angle grinder resistant D-lock, but it was the D1000 was kind of focused on bicycles. Then light lock came out with the X1, then the X3, and then hip lock came out with the DX1000. So I did the big video recently was where it also gave me a chance to address some of the things. People often say, you didn't cut the body. I did cut the body. I just didn't show it and didn't think to mention it in this video. So all the written articles are kept updated. But the latest video tries to address all that, and diamond discs, which obviously need addressing.
Indeed. And I did see your post the other day asking for feedback about rumours of oxyacetylene torches and stuff like that, which I'm not very knowledgeable in that area, but that doesn't sound very likely that it's happening regularly. But I've heard of people using liquid nitrogen to freeze locks and smash them off. So
I've heard of it, but again, it's one of those things. I go to regular motorcycle crime reduction group meetings and a member of the International Association of Auto Theft Investigators. In fact, we've got the next conference coming up next month, and that's it's a global thing. But I focus on what's happening in the UK, and we're in regular contact with police forces, saying what's happening. And I often sit there going, "Are people freezing them? Are they using?" Like, there's no evidence. You could take an oxyacetylene kit to a job, and there will always be thefts where it's a very determined job. We were talking about one recently where it was just like, there's no way you're not beating that. It's properly ripping down walls, a proper team coming in. And unfortunately, that can always happen. But the fact remains that you're far more likely to have your bike nicked if you don't bother securing it at all. And I do think some decent security is expensive. Yes, it's a shame it's not built into a motorcycle, but that would add cost that a lot of people would get upset with. The margins on motorcycle sales are really tight. And I know it's easy to say, well, motorbikes are more expensive than they ever been. But actually, there are more options now. If you look at historic prices and use the Bank of England inflation calculator, we've got far more choice of cheaper bikes now. It's just there is also more choice of really expensive motorbikes if you want them, and the market's there for them. But you don't have to buy the expensive ones. However, still, you need to invest in decent security. But I see it as an investment. Once you've bought something decent, it should hopefully last, or it'll do its job.
I suppose I should actually ask you something about the Roadlok, which because I mean, I could quite happily talk to you all day, but I imagine you've probably got other things you've got to work.
Yeah, no, sorry, I tend to just waffle on a tangent all the time.
I am exactly the same, John. Believe me, because one thing that I did note because I think am I right in saying that you haven't made a dedicated video for the Roadlok, but you included it in quite a big video about different types of locks?
Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes, actually, because people say, "Why haven't you reviewed so-and-so?" You're like, well, I have. It's here. Just Google it. Google anything, any motorcycle product, and see if we've reviewed it. Chances are we probably have. If it's an important one, we probably have. And security is my number one thing. I have to do loads of other stuff. But, we try and keep on top of everything. I'll send you some clips if you want after we've been talking you can use it. I video everything to make sure that if we get a dispute from a manufacturer, or like the recent Rock Solid, I didn't find that very good performing. And I sent all the videos to the manufacturer. A lot of the stuff is just it's me swearing, and it's not for publication. But at least I've got a record of what I was done. But honestly, the Roadlok, for a good few years, we had people commented on videos and stuff saying, why haven't you tested so-and-so? And I kept trying, but I could only seem to find contact in America. Never got a reply. And then I can't remember what happened, but I suddenly got a reply, and they're really eager. And honestly, I didn't think it'd be very good. I was thinking it's aluminium. It's people always say, we just take the bolts out. Okay. But then I was thinking, okay, we'll do that, and then it's aluminium. It's probably going to be. I kept thinking, I'm going to lever this off. I'm going to pry it off fairly easy and snap it or shatter it. But it said, right, well, we need to because we have to. Don't know how it's going to go with destruction testing. When I used to work on Ride, we used to have. I didn't do security testing then, but we always had to have 3 of every product. But we've got it down to 2 here to try and keep the costs down. Got one, and I couldn't do it on a bike because I haven't got a bike with radial calipers that I'm willing to smash the hell out of. But I have a wheel that I use for testing. So I had to base it on a worst case scenario, say you've unbolted it, but I was properly laying into it, trying to leave this thing off, smack it off with a lamp hammer. And bear in mind, when it's fitted to the bike, normally it's tucked well out of the way. It's hard to get that angle to. So whenever I'm doing testing, I always give it myself the best or worst case scenario where I've got space, time, I've thought about what I'm doing, and then I start cutting. I give myself the room to do it. I won't hold chains and stuff in a vise, but I will find the best way you could possibly do it when you're attack testing something in real life. It was really, really solid, really hard to cut. Aluminium's hard to angle grind. It kind of it's quite slow to get through.
Yeah.
Smacking that, because the locking pin, 6mm locking pins on disc locks tend to be fairly weak. So like scooter disc locks tend to be fairly easy to smack off. I mean, there's videos of people smashing them off with a rock, cheaper ones. And I've tested some recently with just, you can get a claw hammer behind them and pry them off. They just ping off within a couple of seconds. But the way this pin goes all the way through the body and is held on both sides, and it's a very tight fit, that was where I thought it'd be the weak point. And even giving myself no forks or anything in the way, so I've got the lump hammer swinging really well in from the side. I couldn't break it. So if you take the bolts out of the caliper, you've still got a disc lock attached. So it's like 2 layers of security, effectively, and it's always there. My one thing with it was I wish they'd do a carrier for it. So I designed a carrier that I 3D printed and goes onto the racks. And they said to me, you can have the STL files if you want to make them. And if anyone wants them, I've sent some out. But even then, though, it's small. You shouldn't carry security in your pocket or anything like that. But it's such a small pin. It's always there with you. It's brilliant. I'd say the only thing, and I wanted to really get into this because I noticed people saying they fur up, they seize up, they're a problem with dirt. And so I've had mine on, can't remember how old the review is now. I'll have to have a look. But mine's been on my GS all that time. And every year, I'd say, I take it apart. Because there's a little sticker, isn't there, over the outside where you can put, when you've taken the locking pin out, you can put something through, turn the key, and then push the little sprung pin in to take the barrel out. But I don't want to take that sticker off. So I found with a right angled pick, like a little pin thing. I just put that in there, take that out, I give it all a good clean, and I use dry graphite powder, just blow that into it. And it's fine. It's been really good. The only problem I've had with it is occasionally, if you're on at a funny angle, it's hard to get the pin to locate. So you just have to roll it backwards and forwards. And to me, that's the biggest chore, is locating. But it's worth it.
I mean, I quite often put this on the center stand if I'm parking it overnight. But I did speak to the chap, and I'll stick his name up on the screen now because I can't forget. But I think his name's Chris. I spoke to the guy who's the Roadlok importer, and I basically said, look, you bought this. I'm going to do a video on it. Is there anything you'd like me to highlight or anything like that? Because I don't have any codes. For the video, it's just me reviewing it. And he came back and said, the only thing I would say is, we do have, obviously people say that the locking mechanism can get a bit stiff, but you have to bear in mind, obviously, where it is on the bike. It's obviously going to be very susceptible to all the road spray, etc. But other than that, he said, just be honest. If you think it's a load of rubbish, then say so. And I don't think you get it as by default, but he did include some graphite powder in the kit for me. And I mean, I've been using it for the last, I don't know, nearly 3,000 miles now. When we went around Europe, I used it. I mean, I did have the Roadlok X1 with me anyway, so it's kind of doubling up on the front wheel. But it's so far the mechanism's fine. I think the only thing that I'm going to feed back to them, and I'm going to mention at the end of my video, is the little rubber cap that you put over the that can really easily come off the black piece, and I've already lost one. I carried a spare, and the second I got the Roadlok, one of my friends messaged me and said my S1000R came with one, and I haven't got the rubber cap. It's missing. Don't suppose I can have one of your spares. So I think I'd like to see something that's a little bit more firmly attached and less easy to lose. But I mean, obviously I haven't had the need to obviously take anything apart yet and lubricate anything. But you reckon about once a year?
Yeah, that's what I found. It depends how, if you're riding it a lot in bad weather. I don't get to ride my GS as much as I'd like, because I'm riding test bikes or doing the VFR project bike or something like that. But yeah, maybe more frequently if hard, but I think it's key to not use things like WD-40. Because it can go up, and the Master Locksmith Association as well say do not use things like WD-40 in locks. It initially feels like, oh great, I've freed that up, but actually just because it just starts to go up and it builds it up in there. Graphite powder is the best bet. I've used Silka Pen before. It's a graphited penetrating spray, which can help. You can kind of clean it up a bit. Your best bet of keeping on top of it is graphite powder. I mean, if you've got a GS and you're wading with it, or any bike, and you're wading and going through mud a lot, I'd say don't put a Roadlok on it. But for anybody doing normal road work, any bike that I had that had radial calipers on, I definitely put one on it, because it's a lock that's always there. And it doesn't stop you picking the bike up and putting it in a van.
No.
Push away is the most common.
Exactly. And I mean, that's why I've got the Lightlock Core motor, is it? The loop.
Yeah.
Although I do find that a bit unwieldy trying to get it through the back wheel.
It doesn't roll up as all that tight, does it? But
no.
What you're doing is a layered approach to security, which is the best bet. The more things you put on it, the more pain in the arse it is for them to nick.
And they're going to look at it and go, ugh. And because I'm a blood biker, although I will confess I don't do as many shifts as I once did. I always seem to be either off somewhere or etc. But if I get a call, because I'm normally on shift if I do it in the evening after work, and the amount of times I've been somewhere, parked the bike, and thought I didn't bring my lock with me, and then I'm looking at the bike and going, oh, that's a lot of bike to leave. I mean, I know outside of hospitals probably not necessarily a hot spot for motorcycle theft, but at the same time, so at least with this, I've got the pin in the top box or in the tank bag. I can theoretically, I can never forget it. That's one of the reasons that I bought it, because I am a bit forgetful, and I do, have sometimes been somewhere and thought, oh crap, I really don't like parking here. But I did note in your video, you did mention that it's not sold secure rated. Do we know why that is? Is it just it hasn't been tested yet, or?
I think they have it. I mean, it's an American. No, it's not even an American product, is it? That's where you see it in America. And he did say, don't put that in. So I can't be. He'll be upset that I've forgotten where its base is. But you have to pay a significant amount to certify something as sold secure. Some companies decide not to. Sold secure certification does give you that proof of protective performance, proof of security. It's important to understand the differences between them. Like bicycle diamond is not the same as powered cycle diamond. Powered cycle diamond is a more intensive test, and ground anchor diamond is even better. There aren't many ground anchors that are ground anchor diamond. A lot of them you'll see will be motorcycle diamond. A lot of what I'm doing really is just kind of editorializing pretty much the same thing as Sold Secure do. I met them many years ago, and I talked to Sold Secure a lot. We don't work together on stuff, but they're brilliant. We meet at the Motorcycle Crime Reduction Group meetings. I remember when I first met them, it was a bit like, am I trying to be better than them or do something else? Like, no. All I'm doing is just trying to help people become more aware of this stuff. I'm always careful with what I'd show or say, because some things you can find a way of find a flaw in something, and my reviews will always reflect that, but I won't say what the flaw is unless it's something so blatantly obvious. But if some locks are easier to defeat than others, but it wouldn't necessarily be obvious how you do it, and it could take a lot of time to find that. But the review won't, it won't tell you how to do it, but it won't say this lock's brilliant as long as you don't do so and so.
And I think that's why I really, really appreciate you taking this time, because I'm like, well, I'm reviewing a lock. Like, what can I say about it? And it's like, it's a lock. Look at me locking my bike. Look how wonderful it is. And it's like there's this part of my brain that's itching to go, let's see if I can smash the crap out of this. But then at the same time, I'm kind of sat there going, knowing me, I'd probably break a finger or slice my hand open. I mean, that's that's the sort of current state of play with my finger now. And I just thought, I know someone who I know someone who. Well, I know someone who knows their own, and I've, various friends have made reference to your, videos and that, and I just thought, if anyone has, given this, which is why I didn't do a destructive test on the Roadlok X1 for two reasons. A, I don't think I could have done a more thorough and brutal job as you, and two, I want to keep it. I wanted to use it. I only have one. So with the Roadlok, I was like, well, if there is a way, if there is a flaw, or if there is some shortcomings, you're going to know about it more than me.
It's really, it's like you said, old people probably know you. Like, I'm just bloke who's worked in magazines for donkey's years and worked in media for a long time, and doing this, but it's really important that people know about this stuff. There's always needs to be different channels for people being made aware of products that are on the market.
Yeah.
The way for security, I will never review security unless I've destruction tested it. And that's just the way it works. But that doesn't mean somebody else might not come up with a better test of it. Or equally, they might just do something and go, hey, you need to know about this. And whether if they want to reference what I've done or what somebody else has done, that's cool. As long as the information's out there and it's honest. However, for people like you and me, like, I want to know there's always a lock with me on my bike.
Exactly, yeah.
And you can't stall. You can't break your. You can't ride off with it on, because even the GS will stall if you try and ride off with that on.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. And I think the guy from Roadlok UK did say to me he has had some people say that they've struggled to get the locking pin out, and I think my friend Al said the same. And what I found, and what the guy from Roadlok said, is because the bike might, settle a little bit, that I just put my hand on the front wheel and just kind of pushed against the wheels ever so slightly, and it just popped. Yeah. It just popped straight out.
Next time, because you're kneeling down there taking it out, just put your hand up to the bar, your right bar, and just pull the bar down so you can compress the suspension, and you'll find it will pop out.
Excellent.
I can't get my head around the physics of why that works, but it creates that. Yeah, it works. That just pulling the bar down just releases the pin. It's fine. No security is perfect. Nothing's going to stop. Nothing's going to guarantee to stop your bike being stolen. No. But I find this suits what I want. And if I'm parking up, staying overnight, that's on it, and the DX1000, and the chain, and tracker, and alarm. All you're doing by locking your bike is protecting reducing the chances of the heartache and hassle of having your bike stolen, and protecting your future policy prices, because your policy price, unfortunately, probably will go up if a bike gets stolen.
I'm sick of I'm kind of sick of hearing people say, "Oh, well, if you didn't lock it, it's your own fault that it got nicked." And I'm like, well, yes, it was a silly thing to do, but why does that mean you were, that it's your own fault that it got nicked? I've never understood that. You
can't victim shame somebody for this. It shouldn't have got stolen. There shouldn't be thieves, but there shouldn't be lots of things in the world, and unfortunately,
exactly, indeed. Well, I think I've run out of the questions I had. If
anything comes up, just give me a shout. It's no problem.
Well, no worries. Awesome. And I'll speak to you later, John. Thanks again, mate. Care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Right. So, final thoughts. What do I think? If you have watched the previous, segment, you will have seen that I did have one area that I would like to see a bit of improvement on, which is obviously the rubber cap that goes over the blanking plug. And you'll have also seen that there is a bit of a knack, or there can be a bit of a knack, to unlocking the pin, which Roadlok themselves did, mention when I emailed them. So yeah, overall, it's a great, item. I've not had it, long enough to really need to do any sort of maintenance on it yet. But it's been, flawless, thus far, and it is going to be staying on my bike. So, anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you've made it this far, a sub to the channel would be much appreciated, as would doing all the share, you know, stick a comment, etc. I don't know what YouTube uses as its you know, guide to who it sort of pushes my videos out to. My watch time isn't where it should be. I don't know if that's me, if that's just the algorithm in YouTube. But if you would be kind enough to do all the usual stuff, that would be great. And I will see you in the next video.